Okay, right. So now you've shown us all up on the internet. So what we're going to be able to do, so with your pie chart, so these are your objectives. You need to be able to calculate the angles, right, from the information you're given. Now, there's lots of problem solving. Just like with those questions I was just giving you, you might be given the basics, the beginning, and just work out the end answer. You might be given a number where you have to go backwards to work out something else and then go forwards to work out the total amount. There's different things that you could be asked to solve with pie charts. So that's why we've got to go through them, right? So calculating angles, either percentages or values, actual values. Calculate the values when you're given the total and the angle of a sector, right? And I want you to be able to draw a pie chart using degrees or percentages, right? Now, we've done work on charts and things. Pie charts are just a different form of charts. A pie chart always fits in an entire circle, doesn't it? Yeah? Are there any gaps ever in a pie chart? No, there's never any gaps. Okay. Now you might see fancy looking pie charts. There's one on the wall which has got a hole in the middle. Yeah. There's pie charts where they take a chunk out and expand in. There's lots of ways to make them look fancy. But basically, a pie chart is showing different sectors for different things.
Are pie charts do all the percentages add up to 100?
Yeah, good. That's a good thing to say. So if you're doing percentages, if you add up all the percentages, they must add up to 100% in a pie chart. If you do it in degrees, angles, degrees, they must add up to what? 360. As you start getting to harder questions, sometimes you have to go into decimals, and then you've got rounding, and you've got to round. Yeah, that's when they start getting a little bit more confused. Okay. Now, what is important with a pie chart is knowing what the total amount of data represented in the pie chart is. Okay. If you don't know what that is, there's not an awful lot of information you can take from it. Right? What we'll do first though, so I've given you a worksheet, and your worksheet looks like this. Okay. And what we're going to do is we're going to look first off at how we convert this information here into a pie chart, and then we'll have a little discussion about what it tells us, what we can see from it, before we go into more calculations. Alright? So, first of all, has everyone got a protractor? Okay, you don't have a protractor. Right, I've got a few spare protractors. That was my chocolate box, so I can lend one rather than waste any time. What I would like you to do, though, on your worksheet, before we worry about drawing, right, in this table, first of all, tell me, what do you think that table of crisp sales tells me?
It tells you what it could tell you what type of flavors the chips people like.
Yeah, it could tell you what would the numbers be. What would the numbers be? The numbers in the table. So we've got the flavors of crisps.
How many people had bought?
How many people bought each one? Okay. So this pie chart that we're going to create is about how many people bought each flavor. Okay. And then we're going to put this information in a pie chart. Right. The important number that we need. 144. So when you do a pie chart, this whole circle here has to fit 144 exactly. So we've either got to split 100% by 144 people, or we've got to split 360 degrees by 144 people. Right, easily. Now, how do you think? Is there anyone that think, yeah, I know how to do this, I can do this, or are you all thinking, no?
Kind of.
John, so, before we draw the pie chart, would you like a few minutes to have a go at figuring out what those numbers are before we go through it? Or do you want me to go through with you? Should we go through it together then? First. Okay. Right. With your help though, of course. Okay. Now, remember what I said? We've got to fit 144 people into the pie chart. Regardless of how they're split up, we've got to fit 144 people. Okay? And that's because we've got 144 people. Excuse me. Okay, back in the room. So we've got 144 people. Alright, we've got to split our pie chart into 144 people. And basically the idea is that we can split our circle into 144 different sections. Each section represents one person. And then we work out how many sections each flavour gets. Okay? Do you get the principle of the idea?
Yeah.
Okay. How would you do that then? How would you split the circle between 144 people? What would be your way?
Well, I'm not really sure, but you would split it in half and then like a quarter and then just keep going until you have 144 little lines. And how you know you have them is you know you've drawn half the 144 amount of lines.
Wow. How would you equally spread out the 144 sections though? How would you make sure that happens?
Measure with a ruler.
Measure with a ruler. Are you sure a ruler would be the best?
That's tractor.
Maddie, go on.
So I think you would make the numbers into an angle percentage, so like
Okay.
an angle degree. So
Yeah. Go on then. Example.
So for example, say one of them was 75%. So you would use your protractor to.
But how do I know? I've got numbers here. What would you do for me now?
No.
Don't know. Really?
Could you do 144 divided by 6?
Why?
Or
Well, tell me why you think that, and then we can discuss. No? Doesn't make sense to you now. Divide by 6. Okay. Anya, you were going to say something?
5.
No? Dividing sounds like a good option. Divide by what? And by what?
5.
Divide by 5?
It's 5 little.
But they're not equal though, are they? 46, 16, 22.
Divide it.
What do we have to divide what by what? Laura?
You divide 360 by 144, and then you do your answer times.
What would that give you? So 360 degrees, if we share that between the 144 people, we get how many degrees each person gets. Can you do that for me? You got your calculator?
Yes. 2.5.
2.5? Exactly?
And then, wait, and then only.
So 2.5 degrees, I would say, per person.
Yes, 2.5.
Yeah?
So would you times 2.5, for example, would you do 34 times 2.5?
Yeah, so if each person gets 2.5 degrees, if there are 34 people, we could times by 2.5 and get the answer, the amount of angle each one gets.
Oh, I'm so smart.
So we times each one by 2.5. This works as a method, I think.
Yes.
I'm so smart.
And what answers do we get then? Over to you.
For the smoky bacon, it's 85.
Smoky bacon is 85. 85 what?
Degree.
Degrees, good. Got any more for me?
65 for cheese and onions. Yes. This is a number. 55 for salt and vinegar.
55.
Plain is 115.
115.
40 is chicken.
Chicken is 40.
They're all 5, yeah. That is true.
They're all divided by 5. They're all divisible by 5. I mean, it should be, because all of these should add up to what?
160.
360. It should. So does 115 plus 40 plus 55 plus 65 plus 85, do they all add up to 360
I'm
degrees?
checking.
Can you check? Just check. Because in maths, it's great that we can check.
Oh, it's because,
Yes.
so it's just because all of the numbers add up to 144, and all of these have that.
Yes. See, if all added up to 360.
So would the total from 144 be 360?
So basically, all of these have to add up to
360.
360, don't they? So all of these numbers, 115, 40, we have to check. Now this is one way that they could ask you a question, for instance. They gave you information, you need to know all the angles have to add up to 360. And all these numbers, we know, have to add up to the total amount. So again, they could ask you to figure out a number, lots of different ways, based on totals and things like that. Now the question is everyone okay with how we found the angles? Okay, basic. There's more than one way to do this, by the way, but that works if everyone's okay with that for the moment. Now, what we need now is how to draw it. Do you all know how to use your protractor?
Yeah, I don't. Yeah.
Once you've drawn the first sector, so I'm going to colour this one in. So plane is 115 degrees. I can label it or shade it in. Now that sector is done. We can't start breaking that up. So what I'm going to do now is get my protractor, but this time I'm going to run it along the line like that. So I'm going to do 40 degrees from my red line. Okay? So, I don't know. How far will that be? Something like that?
No. More.
A bit more?
Wait, yes.
It definitely won't be over it, will it?
No. That's good. No.
But let's just say I'm roughly, you're going to measure yours. So chicken, so what we should be able to do is when we measure, this angle here should be 115 degrees. This angle here should be 40 degrees. And when we're finishing off our pie chart, we should be labeling it. So, plane.
You can just.
Or you can do a key, but we've got to make sure we label it. Okay? So I'll let you see whether you can finish it off.
Wait, yes.
Okay, so just to finish this first one off. So this is what mine looks like. Coloured it in roughly, and but I've got it very clear. So I've kind of over-labelled this one. So I've got colours that match the table. I've even written the angles in. I've labelled each section. Got to make sure it's labelled. Probably you can do either or. You can either just write the words in, or you can do the colour stuff, or as long as it's labelled. Because, as you are now aware, a chart without a label, without a title,
Is
not a chart. It's not useful. Okay. Any questions on this? Yeah. Okay, I'll come and check you out in a sec. If you are ready, let's all have a look. Second one, just before we start. What is the calculation, the first calculation you're doing? Just to check. Serena?
360 divided by 120.
360 degrees divided by the 120 people, and the answer is 3. So each one is 3 degrees. So nice and simple, this one. Okay? You can, because the focus of the lesson is about drawing the pie chart, but you should be able to multiply by 3. But I'll let you do it this time because it's more about drawing the pie chart than you can. But use your calculator. Use your calculator.